It's summertime in Texas, which should end sometime in January. Mac Engel, Fort Worth Star Telegram, Engel Angle podcast here on the Sunset Lounge. Thank you very much for joining me. Sincerely, thank you very much for joining me. Big shout out and a big thank you to my guest for this episode. I chased her for a while to see if I could get her to come on because I knew I had a hook. Netflix, which is changing the world with its approach to media and entertainment, has launched its second season of America's Sweethearts, the wildly popular documentary series about the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Now, this is not exactly like, although I'm sure it's very similar, to CMT's extremely popular Making the Team, which was also about making and cheering for the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. So I thought, man, wouldn't it be great to talk to a former Dallas Cowboys cheerleader? I did last year with Sydney MacArthur. She was terrific. And I know a couple other ones, including this guest, who ironically enough, I've never actually met. Kelsey Bond and I have known each other for like 15 years, and I'm pretty sure we've never actually met in person. But she was kind enough to agree to come on my podcast to talk what it was like to really be a member of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, to go through that process of making the team, to being on that team, and ultimately deciding to retire from it. Now, Kelsey is married. They have a beautiful son who's 4 years old, I think, four. And she's a realtor who lives in the greater Dallas area. I have to say greater Dallas area now because the area is so damn big. We could probably say Houston, and that would be included in Dallas. Anyways, Kelsey used to be a TCU showgirl. She's a graduate of TCU, and she went through the process of making inarguably the most famous cheerleading squad in the world. I know the Laker girls are a big deal. I know being a Raiderette is a big deal. Ain't none of them like being a member of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. So to talk to me and to you a little bit what it's like to be a part of that squad, please welcome Miss Kelsey Bond. Kelsey, did you work out and train when the Dallas Cowboys were at Valley Ranch in Irving?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you remember that parking lot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So my car died. I was covering the team. It was at the end of the day, and my car dies in the parking lot. And a cheerleader parks right next to me. And I'm desperate. I said, can I please, can I bother you for a minute? And you could tell she was hurried because practice was getting ready to start.
Oh, yeah, you can't be late. You get kicked off the team for that.
Are you serious?
Yeah, actually.
Okay. I said, ma'am, I introduced myself and I was really hurried. And I said, can I please use your car for a jump? And she says, I don't know what that means, but I've got to go. And she was gone.
No help.
And that explains it. Okay.
No, like actually,
that does explain it. I always wondered, I'm like, what did I do?
I got a flat tire on the side of the road and I was worried I was going to be kicked off the team. So
Are you kidding?
No, not kidding. For a flat tire. I was late. I was going to be late to practice. Luckily, I called Jordan Daigle and I was like, please tell me you're behind me. Like, please tell me. And I remember because we were doing the little like Fort Worth, Valley Ranch, Dallas, back. Fort Worth, for work, living, the whole thing. And she ended up being like 5 minutes behind me. And she grabbed me. I just left my car on the side of the road. I was like, I'll deal with it later.
Wow, that's commitment. Yeah. That is one thing about, and I've got a million questions written down here. And they're kind of going to jump all over the place. First one is, Kelsey, what is your name? I have you down as Kelsey Lauren, Kelsey Bond, or Kelsey Courtnall.
Yeah, it just kind of depends on the day. When I cheered, I went by my first and middle name. So they did that for kind of safety reasons. So that was Kelsey Lauren. Okay. And then my maiden name is Bond. And I still, I got married to my husband during COVID. So I just never really made that name change, but I go by Kelsey. Well, I guess I'm telling you, it depends on the day. If it's in real estate, I usually go by Kelsey Bond. But if we're going to dinner reservations or if I'm out with my husband or something, I go by Kelsey Courtnall.
When did you leave the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders?
When did I leave them? I think I cheered the 2016 season, and that was my last year.
Okay, so a lot of these questions are going to make you feel very old. How many years were you in the group?
I cheered for 4 years.
4 seasons. So that's a long time. And for people who don't know, you have to try out and make it all 4 years, correct?
Every year. And every year, like some of our really good friends would end up getting cut. And I feel like even when you made the team, you still weren't safe throughout the season. So it was, 4 years of stress.
Did anybody get cut during the season?
You know, I don't know. If they did, I think I like put it out of my mind. Put it with like the PTSD.
Yeah, right.
Filed it somewhere. But no, I mean, it definitely, it could have happened for sure.
If you had to today, so I recently took our daughter to the AC/DC concert, and they played Thunderstruck, one of my favorite songs. Now she can do the dance. If you had to today, Kelsey, could you rip off a Thunderstruck dance?
100%.
That's badass.
I think all of us could do it with our eyes closed. Like if in 10 years that song came on, we could all whip it out.
Is it a hard dance to learn?
It was a hard dance to learn because you learn it right when you're in training camp. And you have to think it's like a 4-minute routine. Plus you have a kick line in it, plus an entrance, and you're on the field. There's a lot going on. You have your field entrance. But, you know, once you learn it, you practice it about 50, 60 times a day. So it stays locked in your memory.
So if you haven't been on the squad in 9 years, almost 10 years now, and the only reason, you know, it's funny, you and I lost track of you. I don't know why. And then I'm on Instagram one day and I see you're following me and you use one of your action shots from your days as a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader as your profile pic.
I've never changed it.
It's a great idea. No. It's to me, I'm like, what a great idea. What a smart idea that is. Even though it's been almost a decade, and I know you've bounced around with some internet sleuthing, I figured out you've bounced around through a couple of different professions, and now you've settled in. Looks like you're doing really well in real estate. Does your time as a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader and being affiliated with that brand, does it still help you now in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, for sure. Well, so there's two sides to that. It's interesting. On the profile thing, I'm one of those people, I'm kind of superstitious, and so is my husband. So I've never changed it, I don't think. Whenever I had it from whenever that was, I don't know that I've ever changed it. And so my husband, he's one of those, he's like, if it gets brought up or something, he's like, you got to cut the cord at some point. It's been almost a decade. But like even if I had saved any girls that I cheered with, their names in my phone, they're still saved under their maiden names. I don't know. I'm just kind of weird like that.
So it wasn't deliberate on your part? I thought it was deliberate.
No, it really wasn't. I mean, yeah, I don't know that people, I think people are not smart enough, but if you like are a fan of the Cowboys and you follow, like people know that I don't cheer anymore, especially there's no like current action or game day shots or anything like that. But as far as it goes in real estate, you know, it's interesting because I never actually bring it up. If anything, I have a client that will bring it up and they're like, oh, I saw that you cheered. That's so great. How was that experience? But in the real estate world, I've kind of, you know, completely separated myself from that. Maybe I should use it more and promote it. Maybe it might help me. I don't know.
Well, and I thought it did. No, I honestly, when I saw that, I just assumed you used it as an icebreaker with potential clients.
Yeah. You know,
and home buyers.
It's odd. I don't bring it up. I don't know. It was such a different world. Yeah. And it was so great, but I guess now, excuse me, like PostCheer, I kind of wanted to make something that was my own.
A lot of, like, one of the benefits to being a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader is having that affiliation. They don't pay you guys enough. And that's a different rant I've had for a long, long time. And I always thought, okay, here's the real benefit. You can say you're a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader to help launch any kind of, I don't know, professional or maybe even personal ambition you want to pursue, either when you're with us or after you're with us. So this wasn't anything that you did deliberately.
No. And you know, what's interesting about that? I think who I am as a person, like when I have a goal, I want to conquer it. And I've always been one of those people, I want to do it on my own. So kind of the same thing for cheer. I had a goal to make the squad and I did it. And then once I finished that chapter, I was like, okay, what does that next chapter look like for me? So I think with that, just the dissociation and just kind of starting on my own, I almost didn't want people to use me because they were like, oh, you cheered for the Cowboys. That's so cool. I want to use you as my real estate agent. I wanted people to use me because they know that I'm the best in the business and I'm referral based and because I do a kick-ass job for them and I know my stuff. So I think that's why I wanted the separation, just because I knew I wanted to conquer, this as like a totally separate and new career path. So if I ever switch careers, I'll do the same thing again. No one will ever know I did real estate.
Well, wait a minute. That's another thing. So weren't you at one point a pediatric registered nurse?
No, I wish. Actually,
that's on the internet, by the way.
Really?
Yes. I thought for some reason, well, you went to TCU and obviously the nursing program there is very.
Yeah. So I was an ad PR major at TCU, but no, wow, that would have been a whole nother career. Maybe that's my next career path. Yeah. I was in medical device sales, and I was in medical device sales when I cheered. So when I stopped, I was in medical device sales for a few years.
Okay, so you try out you're a TCU showgirl at the time. That university is really starting to elevate its profile through a lot of different means, but you're a part of that. That's cool. That's fun. Now you decide, I'm going to go out for the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. And I'm sure you had in your head, okay, this is going to be pretty tough. It's going to be like this, or this. And then you actually do it. Was it harder than what you thought it was going to be?
Times 1,000. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I never, being a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader wasn't really on my radar. I was so focused on cheering at TCU and that path that I was on there. Like I said, I kind of separate my careers and chapters of life. But when I was at TCU, I was so focused on that. We went to the Fiesta Bowl my junior year, and then we won the Rose Bowl my senior year. I went to the facility of Justin Boots and helped design the boot that they wear.
You were one of the designers of that boot?
Me and the coach, Lindsay Shoulders, I was there at the time. So we designed that boot together. We picked the leathers, picked the colors, made sure that it was, fun fact, it has made on the bottom of J-Flex, and it has a split sole so that way we could point our toes. And I actually was able, when I cheered for the Cowboys my last year there was a lot of injuries from the boots. So we actually, I don't know if people know this, but I didn't cheer with anything other than the official Luke Casey boot. But my last year there, I was able to go with the coaches, Kelly and Judy, and to the Luke Casey factory and help them design a boot where it had the split sole and kind of that material. So that way the girls on the field could point their toes and use it for a field boot. So what you see in person for appearances is that official Luke Casey, cowboy boot. And then what they cheer with on the field is different. And that was to help with injuries. But at TCU, I helped design the boots and I designed the costumes. So I would sit in class and be sketching and kind of, sketching new outfits and costume ideas. And then I'd work with our costume designer at the time to actually do the outfits for TCU too. So I was so involved in that kind of took over my world. And before you know it, I graduated and I actually asked our coach at the time, Lindsay Shoulders, I was like, can I come back and cheer for a 5th year? Can I dance for a 5th year? Because we had such a great run with the Rose Bowl and I was involved in that. I was like, I'll come back and get my master's. And she's like, no. She's like, you need to go try out for Cowboys. Like, you need to go do that and take it to the next level. And before that, it wasn't on my radar. And I went to a Cowboys game and, I'd gone to a Cowboys game my senior year and I was like, wow, that would be really cool. But when I went through the process, I had no idea what I was getting into. And truthfully, I kind of went in, a bit cocky thinking, I was captain of the TCU Showgirls. Like, I have this in the bag, hands down. And it was not like that at all. I'm typically pretty good at, I would think, interview questions and stuff like that. But when you have Charlotte Jones Anderson staring across from you, 2 feet across the table with her piercing, beautiful blue eyes, like asking you a question, you're like, wait, what was my name? How old am I? And you forget because you're trying to make such an impression and it's all of it at once, right? It's not just about your dancing or your kick line or your splits. You can be the best dancer in the room and not make it. So it's your interview skills, it's your football knowledge. We took a written test on, there was, questions on the presidency, politics, social media, like little thing, like what does NPR stand for? Like little things you just don't think about day to day. It was Football Hall of Fame. So it really just racked your brain, on like every avenue, not just dance. So really a lot of the girls now post, a lot of them actually got into real estate, but it's interesting because we had to sell ourselves so much and be such a total package that, we're all really good at sales. We had to sell ourselves.
Every time I've ever interviewed a Cowboys cheerleader, probably 5 of them, I've never come away not impressed. Oh. And I'm not saying that because you're sitting.
That's
no, the interview skills are remarkable. And I didn't know. I was like, did they train him for that? And every time I've come away, I was like, man, that girl's sharp. That girl's sharp. And I don't know. I didn't know. Was that all things that you had to practice on your own, Kelsey? Or was that something okay, this is how if we're interviewed, this is how we do this?
Yeah, so they definitely had girls that, were better at interviewing or better answering questions. Kelly would sit down with us as a group and we definitely went over like different interview techniques or kind of, things to say, things that are maybe, a little more politically correct, things like that, because you never know when you're going to be approached by media or if there's like a big story that breaks and, you're going to be the first person that someone comes to, especially now in the day and age of social media. I mean, anything and everything is on the internet and it's there forever, right? So I assume now they have a lot more social media training. It was newer when I was there, but they were pretty strict on, like what you could post, what you couldn't post. But I would just say overall, like maybe there were a few girls that needed some light coaching, just, I don't know, different topics or how to speak eloquently. I don't really know, but a lot of the girls, it was kind of like you either had it or you didn't. And there was a group of us that were kind of the interviewers, right? So media comes, there's, a few of us, they'd be like, oh, you're our interview girls, you go sit and interview. But we loved it. And I think all of us thrived on that. But when I look back at all the girls that I cheered with, every single one of them is super smart, very put together, very ambitious. And because everyone came from, if you think about it, everyone came from being the best at what they were doing. So everyone came from being the captain of a college dance team or the best in whatever they were doing, or, whether they were a Rockette in New York or just kind of all over. They were all the best of what they were doing. And now you put all the bests in one room and it's pretty incredible.
Before I covered the team, which would have been back in 2005, my only real familiarity with Cowboys cheerleaders behind the scenes was HBO Hard Knocks. Yeah. And that would have that would have been the 03-02 season or something like that in San Antonio. And really the stars of the show weren't the players. It wasn't the head coach of the team. It was the two Cowboy cheerleader coaches, Judy and Kelly. And so that was my only perception of the team was those two. Mm-hmm. And the way HBO, and I don't know if you watched it, Kelsey, or not, the way HBO framed those scenes and sequences with Judy and Kelly, they were harder than football coaches. They were harder than drill instructors, just merciless on the girls. Murder. And I was like, holy God, I can't believe they just said that. Yeah. Girls are in tears. Now I know it's television. That was reality television before that was a widespread thing. You lived it, fact or fiction. Were those portrayals of those coaches pretty accurate?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about reality TV is now I think it's a lot more done up, a lot more scripted, a lot more, it's almost been overdone so much that there has to be storylines and characters and all of that. And the great thing about, great or bad thing about when we had making the team on CMT and potentially Hard Knocks too, like it was very real. There wasn't, when the producers were in there, when we were shooting Making the Team, it was never, say this, or, oh, that girl, you didn't like her, say something about this. That was not the case. It was very real. It was, you might repeat something like, oh, in that moment, tell us how you felt, or can you tell us again what you said here? But really, so they could catch it on camera, but it wasn't scripted. So it was very real. I think, I've seen the new show on Netflix, and I'm like, oh, Kelly and Judy seem really nice now. These girls have it so easy.
Are you serious?
Yes. I'm like, whether that's the case or not, I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like, and maybe, they both have daughters and their daughters are grown now and they've been there so many years. They've seen, the team and the brand and the evolution of that. And so maybe they're just getting a bit softer as they get older.
It does happen. I mean, it happens and because there are a lot of parallels between, you mentioned it, you're the best of the best. Everything that you're saying, I've heard covering sports forever, especially in the NFL, the NBA. Oh, these are the best of the best. Somebody in high school, these were the best. And now then a bunch of people got cut.
There was such a respect there, and you're professional cheerleader, like you're working in the NFL, like you have a really high standard that you have to uphold. And I think we all knew that and knew how important it was. So I think even though sometimes, they were so strict on us, but a lot of the time we were appreciative of it because we knew that they were just trying to make us better. And if you look at, coaches in the NFL, like you're getting paid to do this job. So they can do it. They can do whatever they want. It was no hard feelings. They were trying to maintain that image and maintain, keeping being the best of the best. And the Jones family, they have a really pristine image to maintain as well. Like it was always said, like you're wearing the star, you're representing the Dallas Cowboys. And that, was special and meant something to us. So I don't think there's anything they could have said that we, would have been like, I don't know. Was
it ever weird that you said something, though, that I've always thought was odd about cheerleaders? You're professional entertainers. You are. Okay. No different than Dak Prescott, the quarterback of the Cowboys. Luka Doncic with the LA Lakers. Pick your athlete. And when you walk into AT&T Stadium, you see pictures of famous Dallas Cowboys. Roger Staubach, Jason Witten, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith. And then you will see a few pictures of cheerleaders who represent the brand globally, and who that brand, that recognition, Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders, is recognized the world over. And yet most people walking into that stadium don't know your name. That always bothered me. It bothered me in the sense that, well, no, here's why. Hear me out. It bothered me in the sense I'm like, that's not fair. And I know why there's security reasons behind it. But did it ever occur to you in those 4 seasons that you did it with the Cowboys, like, well, wait a minute. All these other guys are out here and the name is on the back of their jersey and they get to make a little bit more money and fame as a result of it. And yet they know me as Kelsey middle name. I always thought there was some unfair. Now I know in social media it's changed that a little bit somewhat, but I always thought that was like, wait a minute, they're not allowed to fully capitalize on this, even though they're on the field. And if the team stinks, you could make an argument that the cheerleaders are more valuable and marketable right now than the crappy team is. And I'm not saying the Cowboys were, well, they probably were when you were doing it, but did any of that stuff ever occur to you when you were doing it or even after? Or you're just like, no, that's part of it, Mac, get over it.
Yeah, I think, we knew what we were signing up for, and we knew that we were signing up to represent the brand, not as an individual, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not the Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. It's the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. And if it were just me out there dancing on my own, like no one would care. It's like the fact that all of these girls are out there, 36 girls, all doing the exact same thing at the exact same time, all looking beautiful with their curled hair and makeup. Right. And it's, Kelly and Judy used to say like we were like a bouquet of flowers, right? There's a little bit of everything. So you have your roses in there and lilies, and all together it's like a beautiful bouquet. And that I think really stuck with me. Like we were out there not as an individual. And I actually think, now you have Netflix and you have these breakout stars and this and that, and they are allowed to capitalize on it. Probably, I'm sure there's, restrictions to that as well, but, and it looks a little different. And I actually think, and not to take away from those girls, I think that's amazing for them. And I think especially with reality TV, especially now with streaming and Netflix and stuff, people like characters and people that they can relate to. And so that was bound to happen. But I kind of loved that we were a team as a whole. I don't think it ever bothered me that, we weren't individual stars, and also like we weren't playing the game, right? We were a part of the entertainment. There was a lot of entertainment. There's the lights, you have the drum line, you have the rhythm and blue girls, you have, when you walk into that stadium, they make sure that, the whole thing is an experience. But at the end of the day, like, people are buying those tickets to watch a football game.
You know what, though? But I say this. I took my daughter. We had good seats. It was a preseason game. She was like 9. And we're sitting pretty low and not too far from where the cheerleaders were. And, it's a preseason game. So, okay, the atmosphere for a preseason game is dialed down somewhat. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you what, she watched the cheerleaders. I was absolutely amazed by it. I'm like, really? She was fascinated by it. Mm-hmm. And like, you can sit there and say they're what they are. I know it's part of it, but it was more of a distraction, not distraction. It was more of an attraction. Pardon me. Well, during a preseason game, who cares? But it was more of an attraction, Kelsey, to an 8 or 9-year-old than I ever thought it would be. And I was like, wow, that's pretty damn powerful. Mm-hmm. And that's why when you were doing it, I always wondered sometimes, are they aware of this? The player is the cheerleader, because you guys are both on the field.
Look, we were all smart, and now most of us are all business women or something like that. So obviously, like, we knew that, but again, we also knew contractually what we signed up for. Yeah. So I don't think there was any, anger there that we weren't maybe able to capitalize on that or anything, because again, we knew that we were representing the brand. I also think that at the time, it was a requirement, I don't know if it still is, that you had to have another job as well.
Yeah.
So it was only allowed to be, this part-time thing for us that actually did take over our entire lives. But, I was waking up at 4:30 in the morning and going to the hospital, and I was in spine surgery all day, with my doctors and guiding the surgery techs and, doing like my job all day. And then I'd leave to go to practice, and we had our workout. We'd go run a mile before practice. Like, we had training before practice. Then we'd practice. Then if we were filming, we didn't end some nights until, 12 or 1 in the morning. Then I'm waking up at 4. So I guess I just really didn't have time to think about it, take a step back and be like, oh, how do I capitalize on this for myself? Which is probably why I still, don't do that. I think I'm just my head's always down, and I just always want to be the hardest worker in the room. So it just never really affected me personally.
Did you have any moment in those 4 years, probably in your last year, where you either had an interaction or something where you're like, gosh, I'm not sure really this is worth it anymore?
I don't know about that. I actually think the opposite. Like, looking back, I now wish that I had cherished like the downtime. It was a lot of hurry up and wait, right? You're at the game 6-7 hours early. We're like, why are we here? This is so early for a noon game. You're catching the bus at like 5:30 a.m. or something like that, full hair and makeup. But I wish I had actually cherished that time in the locker room now more, when it was just downtime and we were sitting around being like, gosh, like, is it time yet? Can we go out and dance? Just because those are the times that I had. Most of my friends now, have 3-4 kids. Everyone lives in different cities. We're all running around, and I wish we had cherished that time together more and not realize, we didn't realize how special it was in that moment. You're told that, but kind of just like, right. Kids that are in college, you tell them, you're like, enjoy these 4 years, because the real world, hits you real fast. But no, looking back, I think, all the downtime or times that we had really early buses or times where we were waiting for a really unreasonable amount of time, I look back and, kind of cherish a lot of that downtime. Because if you think about it, we only dance I know we dance the whole games, but a lot of times if we're doing appearances and stuff, it's, you're dancing for 4 minutes or something really quick and doing, a signing. And then you have the hour you're getting there early. You have the hour to the location. You have the hour waiting. There's a lot of downtime, and you're with all your best friends. So I think that's something too. My husband played hockey, and I can tell like he misses like a lot of the locker room, like the guy time, Yeah. And I think that probably a lot of athletes go through that, because that's what you have your whole life. And then all of a sudden, for me now, I'm in real estate. It's a really lonely business. Like, I'm with my clients, but I'm on, and then I'm by myself driving around all day, looking at houses. So no, I think there's nothing looking back that I would be like, gosh, like, it wasn't worth it. I think there was a lot of trying times that I had. Well, it was a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. But, I was younger too. So no, looking back, I think it was a great experience. I met all my best friends, And I lived a lot of life in those 4 years.
When
I had
I've
a lot of
interviewed, I'm sorry, go ahead.
experiences that no one else could
Yeah.
have, right?
Yep.
Like going overseas, doing children's hospital visits. Like I can't go show up to children's hospital today and, hey, you want my autograph? Like it was a superhero costume that
Yep.
that you put on every time. So, yeah.
When I have talked to retired athletes, they all tell me the same thing. They never miss the game. They miss their buddies. I mean, of course you miss playing, but it's why you see older guys hanging on playing basketball or softball or anything. It's not really about playing. It's just about hanging out with friends.
Yeah.
And I can imagine for you, that was 4 almost extended years of college by being a Cowboys cheerleader and all those friends that you had and shared experiences because you're all around the same age.
Yeah.
I imagine that was a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's interesting because now everyone's just like, we're kind of in that phase. Everyone's really busy with mom life, right? It's difficult. Kids are different ages. Everyone has, their school and everyone's still figuring it out. But, I do hope that kind of later in life, we all circle back up together because we'll never just have that again where it was just us. We had no real responsibilities except paying our rent, making sure we got to practice on time, right?
Yep.
And obviously our jobs, but we were great at multitasking. So that's helped me in mom life a lot.
It is break time and time to announce all shows here on the Sunset Lounge are free. They are free. Go to patreon.com/SunsetLoungeDFW. And all of the shows are free. That includes Shippy and Groobs. The boys will make your day with satirical commentary on viral video clips, internet memes, social media, trending topics, sports, athletes, celebrities, and pop culture. I got pretty fast at that. The Clubhouse featuring Rob, Alex, and Don. It is movie season, and Rob, Alex, and Don are swimming in the new blockbusters, including the Brad Pitt movie F1. 28 years later. I really want to see that. Beer 30 Sports O'Clock featuring the birthday boy Ziggy. Ziggy, who is all thing football, sports, and beer, recently celebrated his 25th birthday. Again, El Maximo. This is football, soccer, football. This is our Spanish speaking show. Let me see if I can get this right. I'm really embarrassed by this because I've been mispronouncing it. Victor Villalba. Spanish voice of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Mavericks. Carlos Nava, ESPN Deportes, for all things NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, boxing, boxeo, and football. Remember, the Sunset Lounge is free. Click the free member button at the top of the page and enjoy all of our regular shows for free, including, can't believe I always forget this one. It's not on the page. Mike Reiner's Your Dark Companion. Also, it is summertime. It is baseball season, which means all season long, the good friends at the Frisco Rough Riders will be hosting us, beautiful people of the Sunset Lounge, at Frisco Rough Rider games, specifically Thursday night games, Thirsty Thursday games, all season long. And with a special code that I'm going to give you here in a minute, you can come out and get a ticket preloaded for $6, good towards your first Thirsty Thursday drink. At the concession stand, it doesn't have to be a drink. Make sure to go to ridersbaseball.com/specials. That's ridersbaseball.com/specials and use this code, Let's Ride 25. That's LETSRIDE 25 to access this offer. Join us for a drink in the Bull Moose Saloon as the game begins. Then you can spot us drowning, swimming in the lazy river, maybe see us in the stands, or just wandering around the crowd as we look to delay going back to our houses. That's every Thursday home game, Thirsty Thursdays. Quench your thirst on Thursday Thursdays with your dark companion in the Sunset Lounge. Now, back to the show. Now that you've had time, obviously almost 10 years now, to look back on it, I've noticed this for me, and I'm probably 20 years older than you. I have a hard time looking back at pictures from a long time ago. I have a hard time looking at pictures of my daughter when she was really young. Mm-hmm. I just do. For a variety of reasons, I have a hard time looking at photos, even though I've got my phones, like everybody is full of them. Do you ever have a hard time looking at those pictures, or are those nothing but great memories? Like, God, that was great. Or is it any part of it difficult?
No, it's like all happy memories. If I look back at my phone and I pops up in memories on my phone or something like that, it's all great memories. And then I'm just like, oh, dang, I really wish I, was not back there and doing it again, but just again, it was just a totally different chapter of life. And I'm so thankful for it. Because again, you're surrounded by, your best friends. You felt safe. You didn't, and I feel like Cowboys actually did do a really great job. You talk about, you only using first and middle names, not being able to capitalize on that. But safety was a really big thing. And I think being a female in the world today, it's a scary thing. And especially being a mom now, and I'm probably more of a helicopter parent than most. And maybe a little, more nervous about things. But safety, like Dallas isn't as safe as it was, even back in 2016. So I think that, they had security guards at our appearances. They made sure that we took the right steps, like in the parking lot and stuff. Also probably went by when your car broke down, that girl hurried away. She's like, who is this?
Who's this weirdo?
Are you going to throw me in your trunk? Something like that, I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
So the world's just kind of a scary place today. So I feel like they did a really good job at making us feel safe. I mean, I talk about objectifying women and all that, if you will, but you have a lot of strangers taking pictures with you. They have those photos on their phone. They're posting them on social media. If people do recognize you, when you're out in public areas at restaurants, people will come up to us and ask for photos and ask for autographs. You are in a way, a public figure, whether you're not the star football player, but, no, I think safety, was really important, and they made us feel really safe. And,
you obviously, to get ready to go to work or a night out with your husband, your family, I would imagine it takes you a little while to get ready, correct?
Depends on where I'm going.
Okay, it's formal. Let's say you want to put your best, your best face on, your best foot on, best foot forward. How long does it take you to get ready?
It depends. If I am going to shower and dry my hair, straighten my hair, then curl my hair and put makeup on and get dressed, we're talking an hour, which I actually feel like is pretty quick compared to most of my friends. Otherwise, I can get ready in a good 20 minutes.
Is my speed. Now, to get ready to perform for a game, Cowboys noon kickoff, how long did it take you to put on the magic?
Same amount of time, an hour.
An hour.
Yeah.
Who was the long? Not naming names. Who took longer? An hour is an obscene amount of time, by the way. So who took longer than an hour? Did anybody take longer than an hour?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of girls did. But again, I think we had our schedules. We were so focused. Yeah. We really were. It sounds horrible when you say it out loud, but we were so focused on ourselves. I have no idea who took the longest. We were probably always waiting on someone. Maybe it was Sydney.
Oh, good. We can blame her. Right? I think you and I talked about this once when I interviewed you years and years ago, because I think you kind of mentioned it. To be a Cowboys cheerleader, you have to be in peak physical condition. Mm-hmm. You're on your feet the whole time. You're dancing and bouncing around. It's a ton of energy expend to maintain that is really tough. Looking back on that, do you think staying in that, because I'm of a mind that I don't think just because you're a pro athlete, that means you're healthy. That's about performance, right? Mm-hmm. Baseball pitchers. What a baseball pitcher does is not healthy. And you could make any number of arguments, but any other number of sports. Do you think to be an NFL cheerleader, that is healthy? Or is it about performance?
Okay, wait, sorry. Being an NFL cheerleader, is it healthy, or is it about being healthy or about performance? Which one? Yeah.
Do you think to be a cheerleader, to be able to fit on that outfit, and it can be any of them. Mm-hmm. Do you think that to do that, that's a healthy thing, or is that entirely about performance? Like a guy
it is 100% not maintainable after you cheer. So if that answers your question, you are in prime performance condition.
Was that hard to let go of and realize I'm not going to look like that anymore because I'm not going to be working out 3.5 hours a day?
I think it's still difficult. And maybe that's something for me that's just like post motherhood. Your body changes when you have a baby, but I think that's something that will always be difficult for me. And when we cheered, we did have, I don't think they have it anymore, but we did have weigh-ins and you did have a contracted weight. And I think in my mind, that was so like ingrained in my head that that's the weight that I think that I should still be at years later. Right. And I'm very, very, very far from that. So I think it's difficult because, when you look at peak performance, and I don't think they do it now, which I'm glad they don't, because I don't think, stepping on a scale really measures your peak performance, right? Like there's so many other things that you're looking at.
Right.
And I mean, that could be measured in body fat or, agility or your, like so many different measures of performance. But if you think about it, we were doing full out aerobic, like high cardio activity for hours on end, right? Like for at least 4 hours for a game. And we practiced and did everything full out, kick line, jump split, all of that for like a 30 minute to an hour long practice prior to the game. And then we were also doing outside on I forget what they were called now, but outside they have like the little stages set up outside.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
To go out, and we were doing performances before the games there as well. So you would come fully glammed out, your hair and makeup, everything done to get on the bus, right? Because you never know if there's a media opportunity, if someone snaps a picture of you and you're not dressed. So you had full hair and makeup, you get there, you run a full practice. And if the routines didn't look good, you're running more than an hour practice. So you have a full practice, you're doing all your routines full out, all of your quarter changes, all of your halftime, if you have a halftime, your thunderstruck, your kick line, you're doing that full out, you're drenched in sweat, you go back in, you re-glam, dry your sweat out, re-curl your hair, redo all your makeup, then you go out and do the plaza performance. You're going full out there. That's full sweat. You come back in, you're drying your hair again, putting your makeup on again a third time to go out for the game. We burned a lot of calories. I wish I remember one of the girls was wearing a Fitbit one time under her uniform, and I forget what it was, but it was something crazy.
Oh, it had to be like some Navy SEAL workout.
Yeah. And, looking back, when we were younger too, and it was hard because practice would get over so late. There was nothing open, and a lot of us weren't cooking for ourselves. So we'd, go run and grab Wendy's or McDonald's or whatever was open. And I look back and I'm like, wow, how much more, stamina would I have had, or where would my performance have been if it was measured in something like that? If I had eaten, super healthy and super clean and all of that now I have to try to focus on because it doesn't just disappear if I have, double cheeseburgers.
Right. Those are the days. When you cheered, did you have any idea what the score was?
Oh yeah. We knew all the rules of the game. We were very into the game.
No. I'm talking about the rules of the game. I know you know the rules, but are you, because I've watched the team sometimes and I'm like, this game's over. Mm-hmm. I've been to plenty of those that I'm like, man, do they even know that they're down by 3 touchdowns here into the third quarter? Like, and I know you have a job to do. It's about being a pro. But when that's going on and it might be on the other side of the field, do you even know?
Yeah, we always were aware of the score. We always were aware of what was going on, obviously, unless we're, turned towards the audience and something happens. But I think those were some of the hardest games to cheer at, if not the hardest games, right? You're down by 3-4 touchdowns, something like that. And you still have to entertain. And now you're probably, at this point, you're probably the only thing that the crowd is watching if they haven't left yet. So you're now still like smiling, pretending you're winning the game. Like that was really, really hard because you're facing people that are upset, yelling things. Fans are not always very nice, yelling things at you. Not Cowboys fans. Cowboys fans are great, right? Like fans from the other team.
Of course. Now
yelling things at you. And everyone's just like, has this face, like they're sad, they're ready to go home. And you're just like, and we're still cheering.
We got this.
It was difficult, but we definitely were aware of everything that was going on. Like I said, we're great multitaskers.
So you did public appearances. You did calendar shoot, I believe. Weren't you in a calendar shoot?
Yeah,
is that right?
USO tours. I was overseas for the London game.
Oh, wow.
We did the international series. Did a lot of that.
Okay, so you did that. You did, I think, didn't you do a music video too, Kelsey?
Yes.
Am I not supposed to know
I
about
forgot
that?
about that. So you just mentioned it. That's why I said that. I had to think about that.
Well, I haven't been in a music video.
did.
That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And apparently the internet says you're a pediatric nurse as well. So there's a whole lot of things going on.
Yeah, right. We had to fact check that one.
So you did that. And so obviously you're part of the squad, you're part of the television show for 4 seasons.
Yeah.
When you look back on all those, what are the experiences that, aside from your friendships, because those are obviously different, but what are the experiences that you look back on and cherish the most? Like, God, I can't believe I did that. That was so great.
So cherish and what was like the most fun are actually 2 different things for me.
Oh, okay. Well, then knock it out.
Like the most fun, besides obviously dancing at the games, and that is one thing too that I'm sure when you talk to past athletes is there's never anywhere where we can find that adrenaline rush again. Like the adrenaline rush that you have of, you have to nail your routine and your yard lines and all of that and not forget anything. And the adrenaline rush that you have going onto that field when there's 80,000, 100,000 people cheering for you, like there's no feeling like that feeling. It's like electrifying. And finding that post dance is like a very difficult thing to do. Haven't been able to find that again yet. Right. Like, and I'm sure a lot of athletes go through that, going on the field for the game or hockey games, all, et cetera. It's difficult to find, but besides that, the most fun times that we had were like the half times where we got to do things that were a bit outside of our box, right? Like the Thanksgiving half times. One year we did it with Selena Gomez and she had her choreographers in town and we got to learn all of her tour choreography. And then same thing with Pitbull. Like, Pitbull came in and we got to learn his tour choreography. And it was cool because it was so different from what we were doing. And then just like getting to dance with some of those entertainers on stage, like Usher and Blake Shelton. And, now the girls have danced with a lot of really, really cool names, but getting to perform, we're performers, right? So we look up to those people that perform. So getting to perform with some of these A-list performers on stages, all over the US was really, really cool. But I'd say the one thing that I cherished the most was actually besides children's hospital visits and getting to really warm the hearts of, it wasn't just the kids, it was actually the families. And that was really cool. And sometimes we'd walk into those rooms in the hospitals and they were more excited to see us than they were the football players.
100%.
And that was a wow for us. And just to see, parents or families that had been there for, it was Christmas time or whenever it was, and they'd been there for 6 months in the hospital, and like, just to like light up a room for them, even for a few minutes, was a really, really cool feeling, just that you could make a difference. And that's something that's always been big for me, is I've always wanted to make a difference in people's lives. So by being able to do that, and then USO tours, no one really knows how, we go through our day-to-day life and we kind of forget about, not forget, but you forget about the troops overseas and those that are fighting for our country and those that are in military and combat. It's not something you think about day to day unless you're in a military family, you have military husband, dad, brother, something like that. So actually going to those places overseas, like we went one year to Kuwait. Wow. They sit you in these, it's like a, big entourage, or what's it called? Like convoy of like 4 different black SUVs. And they're like, you sit there, you sit there, you sit there. And you have these guys with these, big guns next to you. And you're just sitting there. You're like, okay, are we safe? Is everything okay?
Now, were you in the blue jumpsuit, the Cowboys Cheerleaders jumpsuit at that time?
Yeah, like in our warm-ups. And I think maybe even street clothes sometimes. Cause we went to some areas that were not so safe. Like we went to a few bases that had been on lockdown for months, and we were the only and first people that they'd seen, in months. I remember that was in, Istanbul one time, and love Turkey as a country. I've actually been there, a few times, but this was a time when I think like a lot of ISIS cells had been caught and the city wasn't safe. They had just had maybe the bombing of the airport. I'm not sure, but the bases were all on lockdown. So when you get there, you are the only thing from home that a lot of these troops have. Like they just want to know, at that point, I'm sure they think it's great you're a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader, but they don't really care. The fact that there is someone like from the US there, you're just a piece of home for them, right? They want to know like current events, or just like talk about just the most random things, like what great movies have you watched lately? Like they just want any connection to a piece of home, because it has to be so lonely over there, right? And we were I don't want to say fortunate, but we saw a lot of things over there that most people don't get to see. And we were that close to the action. Like we saw, my favorite plane, an A-10 Warthog. We saw planes take off with bombs on them and come back without. We saw, Black Hawk helicopters land to refuel in the DFAC and, get some food. And then they went back out and they're in war. And it was very real. And it was the craziest thing I would say too is, I don't know, in my head, I think that like our military and our troops are in their like 30s or 40s, or I just think of them
kids.
as older, and you go over there and it's kids,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I was like, these are like kids like my brother's age, these 18, 19-year-old kids. And you're like, wow, you're scared to death and you're who is out here protecting our country. And so I really cherish those moments that I was able to connect with any of our military and troops and just thank them for what they did. It was really, really special.
So when you watch Cowboy games now, and I don't even know if you get a chance to, I don't know if you and your husband and your son watch the games, or because obviously if you're at the game, you can watch cheerleaders. If you're on television, you're only getting a cutaway shot or 2 seconds tops. If you're at the game, do you watch the cheerleaders, and do you watch them with a critical eye?
I just think it's more fun to watch them now. Maybe sometimes I'm like, oh, she missed that. Or, because I know the counts of things. I'm like, oh, that wasn't as sharp as it was. But never judging or criticizing, because I know how hard it is, right? And how difficult it was to do that. But it's just more fun for me to get to go watch them now and reminisce and watch the game as a whole. Last year, we were fortunate. My husband's cousin was playing for the Cowboys, so we got to go to a lot more games than we normally do during the season. Eric Kendricks.
Oh yeah, that's his cousin.
It's his cousin's husband. So
cousin,
cousin,
all right, yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah, but yeah, so it was fun having them here, having family here, and then getting to watch him play was great. Hoping they sign him again, but. Yeah, getting to watch the game as a fan is, totally different experience. But part of me doesn't like going because really, like, there's no better seat than being down on the sideline.
Right.
Like, it's hard to beat
It's
that, right?
For you, yes.
So it's fun for like the social aspect and all that. And I go and I end up watching the screen, right? But yeah, there was nothing like having the best seat in the house being down on the sideline. So.
Last question I'm going to ask you. So I want you to play pretend for me. Actually, this may have happened to you. Say a 21-year-old girl comes to you and she's a senior someplace. And she says, Miss Bond, Miss Courtnall, Miss Lauren, Miss Kelsey.
Whatever your name is.
Whatever your name is. You're a hell of a pediatric nurse. But she says.
Saving lives.
She says, I really want to be a Cowboys cheerleader. I really want to do it. What do you tell them?
I think, I've had girls come to me often, or I've actually had parents be like, oh, our niece or so-and-so is trying out. Here they go. Like, can you watch them? Can you, tell them? And I just tell them, I'm like, go at it 110%. Go at it with your whole heart. Have no regrets. It's not the end of the world. If you don't make it, you can always try again. There's some girls that have tried out, for 4, 5, 6 years in a row. But yeah, you have to be yourself, because if you go and you try out and you try to be, someone you saw on TV, or you try to have the style of a girl that you admired, that you watched, like, they're not going to pick you. They are going to pick you for you. And every girl that they pick has their own style, their own uniqueness, and their own way that they dance. So I would just say, like, just truly find what is special about you and how you dance and how you talk and convey yourself and how you connect with people, and just show them that.
Great answer.
That's like your best bet, because they want girls that are unique and special. And like I said, they're building that bouquet of flowers. So
this was great. Thank you very much for humoring me on this, because I've bugged you about it. I'd come up with a list of people that I wanted to talk to. And what you do in this, like, I talked to Sydney a while back, and I was like, who else could I talk to? I was going through my phone, and I've had you on here, I guess, for 10, however many years. So I was like, oh, she'll be good. She'll be good. I remember talking to her. She was good. And then
10 years.
I think, have you changed your number in 10 years?
Probably, but
I don't think you have
that long to reach out to me. Wow.
No. I'm saying,
or have I ignored you for a decade?
Probably. That's one of the cool, and I don't know if this happens in real estate or not, but it's certainly in my job. You do get used to just people not responding. You know what I mean? I don't know if that happens with you or not.
No, it does. And that actually, it's funny because it's a difficult thing. You have to separate it, right?
Yes.
Like for real estate, I'm like, why aren't they responding? I'm such a people pleaser. I'm like, why aren't they responding? Are they mad? And then I'm like, oh, wait, real estate's not the first thing people think about when they wake up, right? So for you too, it's like they have jobs, they have lives. Like they'll get back to you when they're ready.
Well, and not only that, like when I reached out to you and I just shotgun requests. I'm like, okay, if I get 3 back, if I get 3 yeses out of 10, that's pretty good. And I know, just following you on social media, I'm like, that's busy. She got a little kid and a husband, and that's a young family. I'm like, I was there. I'm like, she's really busy. She probably doesn't have time. And I know
what's crazy is I'm so busy. I feel like I don't even post on social media. I'm like my assistant. I hired her to do that. I was like, we gotta get some posts going here. I was like, because I don't have time for this.
Well, it's very convincing because I follow you on Instagram and I see all these beautiful homes that you're selling. I'm like, wow, that looks amazing. That looks amazing. That looks amazing. So you do a hell of a job with it. And if you hadn't told me that somebody else was doing it for you, I would have thought, wow, how does she have that many hours in a day? So
no, so a lot of it, like the content and stuff, I do, but like if there's like solds or coming soons or all that, like she helps with that. But yeah, there's a lot of really beautiful ones I post. So if you're looking, just let me know.
Do you really think? I mean, what about my life do you think I can afford the real estate, like the houses that you're selling? It's very charming. I really appreciate that.
I think it's the little, is it scissors? Oh, it's a back scratcher. It was the back scratcher behind you.
Oh, do you see that?
Yeah. The back scratcher gave it away. I was like,
that
he
actually
wants to buy a mega mansion.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if you can see that. You'll appreciate. Do you see this pennant right here?
I see that. It's not a TCU flag.
No, that is a TCU. It is. That's the TCU.
Oh, I can't see above it. It just looks like a Georgia one.
No. That's the Georgia TCU National Championship game.
Oh, okay.
Did you go to that, by the way, as a fan?
I didn't.
Smart move.
Yeah.
Money well spent. Kelsey, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully, again, I won't bug you again in 10 years. It'll be sooner.
No, I love it. We'll have to do it again soon. We'll do part
Kelsey, 2. Good luck to you and your family. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye.
See you later.
This is a Stolen Water Media production.